This edition of My Thoughts Monday is brought to you by Valve Performance, the team behind the Nordboard, Force Decks, the Groin Bar, and Human Track. Guys, the most important ability for all of our athletes is availability, and that's the absolute goal of Valve Performance, is to provide solutions to performance professionals so that we can get the right information to make the right decision at the right time for the betterment of the athletes that we get to work with. To do this, guys, they have a wide range of validated products that focus on usability, and having being founded by the School of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences at the Queensland University of Technology, they're extremely evidence-based and they're beyond transparent. I can tell you that our time using the Nordboard and being involved with Force Decks, we have been introduced to so many amazing people that have truly helped us become better coaches, have a better understanding, not just of the technology, but also what we're doing with our athletes. So make sure you hop over to valveperformance.com today to make sure you check out what they got. It's going to make you better and to do better by your athletes. The world of strength and conditioning is filled with some awesome practitioners who are always trying to evolve and continue to grow professionally throughout their career. The problem with many of us, though, is finding a new outlet, a new way, and a new perspective on the questions that we may have, whether it be programming, whether it be situational with dealing with coaches, or whether it be career advice. Because all too often what happens is we get stuck in with the same group of friends and the same group of colleagues that we reach out to for advice repeatedly over and over again. But what we should really be looking for is different perspectives, different people who have been through different situations who can help us make better decisions both for ourselves and our athletes. And one awesome place to start with that is the forums in the Strength Coach Network. In the forums in the Strength Coach Network, you'll be able to reach out and get feedback, input, and advice from coaches from all over the world, from everything from career advice to training modalities to programming. There's people there just for the same reason as you are, to try to get better, to learn, to share information, and to grow the field of strength and conditioning. So hop on over to strengthcoachnetwork.com/CVASPS. That's strengthcoachnetwork.com/CVASPS to dive into all that great content today and get your 48-hour trial for only $1. I look forward to seeing you in the Strength Coach Network. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Jay DeMayo coming at you with this week's edition of My Thoughts Monday. And today I would like to continue discussing some takeaways from the sensational presentations that we were able to witness at FREE-VASPS. And today I would like to talk about Stephanie Mox. Stephanie is absolutely killing it down at Mississippi State. I'm just a big fan of everything that they're doing. I think that how she's building her entire department from the ground up and bringing in great people and sharing with everyone, no matter who, through social media, is right now it could honestly be debated that what they're doing is second to nobody else. So before we get going too far, Steph, huge kudos for all you're doing with that, because you're leading from the front and you're pulling us all along. So thank you for that. And this presentation, it didn't differ in any way, shape, or form from that. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. She laid it all out, the entire progression to get these young people back into sport, and even shared with us some of the things that she's looking at when it comes to how they are going to train these young people when they get back. But the point and the takeaway that I want to talk about today is one that I think has been kind of a trigger topic or a hot topic or whatever we want to call it for some people, especially since the beginning aspects of this pandemic. And that is, she talked about our role. Our first role, I believe, is what she said, was that we need to, come up with objective KPIs. And I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more with that. We need to be able to have measurements that are going to indicate that we are improving the athlete in some way that will impact their performance. Now, where this has become somewhat of a hotter topic, or like a trigger button, if you may, is where people talk about the idea of starting it now, like basically is too late. Like we should have been doing these things all along. And while I agree with that to an extent, I think that right now, what's most important with that is for us to be running audits and us to be running evaluations and us to be diving a little deeper into what we are doing, why we are doing things, and how we are evaluating them. And this is something that actually I think we've done a pretty darn good job of here. You know, I think everyone's staffs has probably been a little bit scatterbrained, you know, a little bit like Doug from Up, where all of a sudden squirrel and we're going in another direction, right? Because there's so many different things that have been thrown around. But one thing that has stayed pretty true is us discussing better ways to evaluate these young people and better ways to streamline it and involve sports medicine and the sport coaches so that they may have a better understanding of what the situation is at hand. Now, this isn't something where we're trying to be overly complicated, nor do I think anyone would want it to be. This isn't something where we're trying to be overly specific, because I don't think when you are trying to rebuild or you're trying to grow or you're trying to kind of revolutionize how you're doing things, I don't necessarily know if going big or going home is the right option. I think with this type of a situation, what we're looking at is what are some things that we can evaluate on the regular that are, you know, going to be time sensitive, that are not going to get old to the athletes, and that are going to allow us the biggest bang for our buck when it comes to providing information. Then tying in the idea that Katie Jones had, which was, or at least how I interpreted some of the things that Katie talked about, which was how can we then impact the athlete without overstepping our bounds and impacting practice right away. How can we, hopefully along with the assistance and support of sports medicine, do things that we are able to provide better for these young people? So, I guess I should probably talk about that. So we are going to look at 4 specific metrics on a force plate, and we picked a readiness metric, we picked an eccentric metric, we picked an isometric metric, and we picked a concentric metric. And the reason we picked the other 3 was because we can then look at specifically the athlete's ability to load, the athlete's ability to stop, and then the athlete's ability to push. And with the force plate system we have, we are able to look at right versus left also. We then took a step back further and we're like, okay, so these are all great, but how can we quantify this information to make sure that we are going to be able to communicate it in a timelier fashion and make it easier for us to visualize what we're looking at, so that we can have better conversations with sports med, so that we can do better for the kids and we can show them, listen, this is X, Y, and Z. So basically how we set it up was kind of just a 3-strike setup, right? If your asymmetries are decreasing or your outputs are improving or staying the same, then it's green. If it's gotten worse, air quotes, once, then that turns yellow. If it's gotten worse twice, then it turns orange. And we all know that there can be good days and bad days, right? So if we go right yellow to red, which was my initial thought, but I was corrected, rightfully corrected. There needs to be another step in there, because if you have one bad day, it shouldn't set you into a tailspin. So we then went and we're like, okay, orange, and then a third time would be red. And this would be, when we need to start making different adjustments, so on and so forth, would be completely dependent upon the time of year, the individual, where we are, what we're doing, what the yellow or the green or the orange or the red was. But I think that what it's going to end out doing is allowing us to take the metrics that we have been doing, right? That we have been looking at, that we have been collecting with some teams, and now carry that over into other teams and allow us to do better by everyone else. So to kind of go full circle, we need to do better when it comes, and I think that this is probably across the board, and I think most people would agree with this, that we need to do better when it comes to identifying the metrics that we are collecting. And we need to be more specific with the metrics we are trying to collect so that they're actionable. And then once we do that, we need to make sure that we continue to collect them and we continue to take action upon them. Because it's really easy to write it up, but it gets old after a while and it starts to get tiring to everybody. But the matter of the fact at hand is that you need to stay on this if this is going to help impact the people you get to coach. But the last part about all of it, that I think, again, needs to be said is, yes, these are things we should have been doing all the time. Looking at loads, looking at this, looking at that, looking at KPIs. But this also has been a time where, whether you were or you weren't, there should have been some time, or there should still be some time, where there has been some auditing going on and you are reevaluating what those key performance indicators are, or those metrics you're collecting are, if you don't feel comfortable calling them that, so that you can drive forward better, more efficiently, make better decisions, take out steps and hiccups and issues. And that was part of what I took from that talk, and that was rad, because I think that after that talk, there was a few of us on our staff that were really like, whoa, we got to be better, and we got to work better at this stuff. So we have. So kudos, Steph. That was rad. I appreciate it. But would love to hear how y'all are doing your self-audits. How are you guys and gals looking at your staffs? What are some things you're taking out? What are some things you're adding, and why? And what are the benefits and the costs that you're seeing associated with going one way or the other with those? Because I think that, albeit no situation is the same, everyone can learn from every situation, so we can all get better from figuring out what's up and what's down in other people's places, so we can figure out A, if it fits, and B, if it doesn't, are there parts of it that could help us be better as well. But as always, truly appreciate everything y'all do for us here at Central Virginia Sport Performance. We'll be back next week with another My Thoughts Monday. See you then.